Elvis and Priscilla welcomed their new baby. The nation mourned Dr. Martin Luther King. David and Julie Eisenhower tied the knot. For families across the nation, 1968 was a year of many changes, and it also marked the start of the world's longest-running panel study, the University of Michigan Panel Study of Income Dynamics. For 40 years now, this study has followed the changing lives of a nationally representative sample of American families, interviewing the same people as they marry, have children, find jobs and lose them, and divorce.
We're interviewing not only those original 1968 individuals, but people they married, their children, and oftentimes grandchildren or great-grandchildren.
To conduct this study, the UN Institute for Social Research interviews more than 65,000 people, representing 3 and even 4 generations of some 8,000 U.S. families. Funding for the study comes primarily from the National Science Foundation and from the National Institute on Aging. The study is so important that the NSF named it one of its Nifty 50, the top projects that the agency has ever funded. It's the only social science project on the list, which includes the discovery of planets outside of our solar system, Doppler radar, DNA fingerprinting, the Hubble telescope, and the invention of barcodes. The brainstorm of economist James Morgan, the study began during President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty as a way of figuring out why some families weren't sharing in the American dream.
Back in the 1960s, when the study was initially conceptualized, we as a nation only had cross-sectional studies. That is, we knew at a point in time, say in the 1960s, what share of families were impoverished, so maybe say around 20%. But what we didn't know is whether those same 20% of families who are poor today are poor tomorrow.
The research showed that while about 20% of Americans are poor at any given time, most do not stay mired in poverty. And because the study has continued for so long, the researchers are now able to look at income volatility over the average American's working lifetime.
And the panel study is the only study that allows us to understand whether or not, in fact, economic volatility has changed. There are always economic volatilities. Individuals are losing their jobs, they're changing jobs, they're getting married, they're improving, they're getting increases in their pay, so their economic status is changing. But the evidence that we have today, in fact, is that the volatility is greater today than it was decades ago, and the study is the only source of that information.
To conduct a study of this scale for this length of time, the study team invests considerable effort in training its field interviewers. They even send a DVD to interviewers before they bring them to Ann Arbor for the training session. Lorraine Kelly has been working as an ISR field interviewer in central Massachusetts for nearly 20 years. Talking to the same families for the panel study of income dynamics has almost made her feel like part of their families.
I love my people. I mean, they know me, of course, because it's a longitudinal study.
Right.
They're expecting me. You know, we have some kind of communication going.
Sure.
And our job is to try to persuade them, because it's really important research, and especially longitudinal studies, because we're trying to find out the changes every wave, and we don't want to lose them. And people get tired of doing it. I mean, I'm very lucky. Most of my people just say, oh yeah, I know, we'll do it. But once in a while, you know, you'll get somebody reluctant, and that's a challenge to me. Even though I've done it for 17 years, it's still a challenge when somebody just says, I don't want to do it. But if you back off, wait, be patient, you usually will get a good response.
In fact, this study has a 97% response rate, unprecedented in the field of survey research. It's a major reason that the study is so valuable, since it ensures that the sample of people interviewed are really representative of all U.S. families. The panel study of income dynamics has inspired researchers in a growing number of nations around the world to start similar longitudinal studies of their own. One of these is the British Household Panel Survey, conducted by researchers at the University of Essex, who recently visited Ann Arbor to exchange information and insights with their Michigan colleagues. One of the visiting scholars was economist Maria Iacovu, who is using cross-national data to help understand poverty rates among young people in European nations. Looking at social issues through an international lens, as well as an intergenerational one, provides a perspective that isn't otherwise possible. And sometimes, in the process, it may challenge some fundamental assumptions about the kind of place a nation really is.
The genealogical design of the PSID, where we follow individuals and their descendants, allows us to understand also the intergenerational transmission of well-being. Americans have thought that we have been a society where individuals pull themselves up by their bootstraps, that in fact family background is not a major determinant of one's well-being as an adult. And results from the panel study have found that in fact the economic status of the family that you're born into is highly predictive of the economic status that you will attain as an adult.